I just love technology when it works. Ah, the computer age. Isn't it a gas? Just when you think that everything is supposed to work just the way you want, it doesn't, which causes a delay, which causes a little bit of an interference with what I'm trying to do, and I shall not be interfered with. And with that, I say, hi, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to the Blue Monday session of Chattin on the Porch. That thing we do through the week where we get together, sit down, drink a beverage, or not, talk about the news, scratch our heads, and see if we can't figure out what the heck is going on around here. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on YouTube, that quaint little alternative social media platform. So if you haven't done it yet, please do me a favor, send out a Gettr, a Gab, a Truth Social, a tweet, wherever you may be on social media, and tell everybody to get their bones in here. We have things to talk about, and the Wingnuts are already reporting over on Rumble. TBA is here. Yes, Wingnut number 1 is reporting for duty, and we see you, sir. We say, howdy. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am known as the wise guy in the wide brim. I'm sometimes known as the fine fella in the fedora. But above all else, I am known as your host. Again, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on YouTube, that quaint little alternative social media platform. We call it quaint and alternative because they're not so fond of free speech. We, on the other hand, are very fond of free speech. And you know what? We'll keep exercising that free speech till the day we die, till the last breath is out of the body. We're going to keep on talking, we're going to keep on telling it, and we're going to tell it like it is, as we always should in these situations. So glad to have y'all here tonight for the Monday night session. And, what a day. It is Blue Monday. We're all back to work. Ain't it a shame, as my father was fond of saying, that we weren't born rich instead of good looking. Daggone it. Anyway, glad to have you guys here tonight. Welcome in. Let's see who all's in the house. WWG1 is over on Rumble. I am also a member of the Top Hat Nation. I don't discriminate. Well, you know what? Daggone it. That's part of the reason why we like you, WWG1. You are non-discriminatory. You will hang out with anybody's hat. Daggone it. And that's why we love you so much. Let's see. Who else is here? Well, hey, right back to you. Let's see. I left for a wee moment to share and come back, and YouTube won't bring your show up for me. Oh, how dare YouTube do that to me? Good grief, 99 days to go, and they're not letting you back in. How dare they? Hello, Peep. We good to see you, sir. Good to see you indeed. Oh, goodness. Yes, send out messages to your friends. Tell them to come on in, hang out with us for a little while as we talk about some of the things going on in the news. And yes, as always, things are going on. For the first time in a little while, I kind of feel like, this may have been a day where we're not sitting there all going, Lord Almighty, let me sit down and catch up. Mercy. Now, there's news to talk about. Don't get me wrong. Some of it we're going to be able to get to, some of it not. And we'll get all to that in a moment. By way of announcements for the Electronic Front Porch, this Wednesday night I will be on Tracy Barkley's channel, Keto and Crime, doing a movie review at 7:30 Eastern. Now, I don't know if she's going to be live that night or not, but it will be played later, so I will not be doing Chatting on the Porch Wednesday night. Let's see. Now, hang on. What's Rhonda DeSantis saying? We'll have to catch this later because I want to catch Mike's. Mike Harlow, I'm dying inside, but hi, y'all, and bye for now. Well, you know what? Hey, do me a favor when you go talk to the High Harlot. Give the High Harlot my regards. Tell him that tell that son of a gun I need to catch up with him, or he needs to catch up with me, one of the two. No, actually, I kind of owe him a phone call. So tell the High Harlot I'll be reaching out to him in the near future. Daggone him. He's just having way too much fun down there in the free state of Florida. Love him. But anyway, this Wednesday night, we will not be doing Chatting on the Porch. I will be on Tracy Barkley's channel called Keto and Crime, doing a live we'll be doing a movie review. Whether we'll be live or not, I'll be able to tell you for sure tomorrow. I'll send her an email. But normally, she records it and then she plays it later on her channel. So we'll be doing a review of a film called Conspiracy from 1991. I don't haven't watched it yet. I got to sit down and do that tonight or tomorrow night, one of the two. But anyway, that's what we shall be doing. All right. Let us get down to business. Much, much, much to talk about. And guess what? Joe Biden has been cited. I know. Shocking. Shocking indeed. Give me 1 second here, folks. Sorry about that. Yeah, he's been seen. He gave a speech today down at the Lyndon, I believe it's the Lyndon Johnson Library down in Texas. And Biden has rolled out something that is not going to go anywhere and is a horrible idea, to which I know most of you who are friends of the Electronic Front Porch are sitting there going, in other news, water is wet. Yes, I know. Joe Biden gives an idea that's going nowhere and is terribly bad. But he's rolled out another one, and this is a non-starter for this election year, and he's doing it for the base of the Democrat Party. Which, by the way, I need your guys' opinion on something, because this just hit me the other day. What do you guys think are the odds that Joe Biden will speak at the Democrat National Convention this year? I'm serious. Yeah, and TBA says, Joe lame duck Biden, by the way. Yeah. What was that Joe Biden was 6 inches taller before he got COVID? You know, a lot of people are asking that question because ever since he gave that address the other night at the White House, man, something weird going on with that one. And I'm not trying to be conspiratorial, but a lot of people say. So you say the odds are 0 that he speaks at the DNC in Chicago. Interesting. Yeah, I thought about that the other day. I thought, I wonder if they're going to let him speak at the convention. I'm serious. Normally you wouldn't ask that question. You would think, okay, outgoing president of the United States. I mean, Barack Obama spoke in 2016. But will they let Joe Biden speak at the Democrat National Convention? I don't know. Frankly, would he want to speak at the Democrat National Convention? Considering what happened to the poor guy, you kind of got to wonder. Oh, it wasn't 6 inches. He grew 2 feet taller. Well, you know, I hear these wonder drugs these days. I'll tell you what, it's just saying. But yeah, Joe rolled out a proposal today, and we're going to take a look at it because this is terribly, terribly interesting. So I'll tell you what, let's just get right to it. From thehill.com, we have the following. Biden unveils reform proposals for, quote, extreme Supreme Court. Article by Zach Schoenfeld and Brett Samuels, we've got the following. President Biden railed against, quote, extreme opinions at the Supreme Court as he announced major court reform proposals during a Monday speech at the LBJ Presidential Library. Quote, I have great respect for our institution, for the separation of powers laid out in our Constitution, Biden said. What's happening now is not consistent with the doctrine of separation of powers. Extremism is undermining the public confidence in the court's decisions. All right, I want to stop and analyze that statement for a minute. I have great respect for our institutions. Okay, then why are you proposing to change them? Especially the proposals he's laying down, which we'll get to momentarily. I've got great respect for our institutions. For the separation of powers laid out in the Constitution. In other words, these branches are equal but separate. They cannot necessarily impinge upon the delegated powers that the other branch has. What's happening now is not consistent with the doctrine of separation of powers. Well, why is that? What is happening now that's that's infringing upon that doctrine. Extremism is undermining public confidence in the court's decisions. Now, I really want to tee off on this one. Define extremism for me, Joe. What is that? Oh, extremism is a decision that you don't like. See, this is the thing, and we're going to get back to the article here in a minute, but I'm not going to lie. This is the thing that ticks me off, among other things, about dealing with political lefties, is that when they don't get their way, they cry about it. Now, here's what I'm getting at. From probably the late 1950s on, I cannot begin to tell you the number of decisions that got handed down by the Supreme Court of the United States, going from the Warren Court all the way through, now you can make an argument, the Burger Court or the Rehnquist Court, that conservatives like me and others did not like. Okay? But we did not call for reforming the Supreme Court. We didn't call for changing the institution. We didn't call for packing the court. No, what we did is, for 50 plus years, conservatives of varying stripes rolled up their sleeves and they went to work. They started electing congressmen. More particularly, they started electing senators and then presidents who would put judicial nominees on, in some cases, the Supreme Court directly. In a lot of cases, the appellate and the district courts laying the seeds so that someday, hopefully maybe, we could get a court that would look at certain decisions that had been handed down from the 1950s up and until, let's say, I don't know, call it the mid-1990s. Get them to look at those decisions and maybe, just maybe, reverse what the court had done. That's all. That's all that conservatives did. Didn't get constitutional amendments passed. Didn't propose, adding another 7 or 8 justices to the Supreme Court. Didn't do anything that what Biden's talking about. We just went out and kept on working and kept on working and kept on working and kept on working. And then slowly but surely, and don't get me wrong, this court is far from ideal as far as I'm concerned. Okay, there's 2 or 3 justices on there right now that are, it depends on the issue. They're going to be real shaky. But on the whole, we have a more conservative court. Now, for those of you who are watching this, and you're saying, well, Front Porch, what do you define as a conservative court? I want a court that simply interprets the law. In other words, if there is a dispute about the meaning of a law or how it should be applied, what should the court look at? Well, it should look at the historical context in which it was passed. It should look at the Constitution. It should look at, as much as possible, the idea of what did the founders mean when they wrote this particular section of the Constitution, and how does that apply to where we are right now? WWG1, exactly, based on the Constitution. Exactly. Okay? That's it. I don't want you to make law from the bench. I don't want you to come up with, rules about trimesters of pregnancy. I don't want you to come up with, in this case you do this, in this case, no, that's for the legislature. You just tell me what the law means, and is this law, on that basis, what does it mean? Is it constitutional or is it not? That's all you got to do. So in that respect, we have a more conservative court. Now, like I said, it's not ideally everything I want yet, but then again, my tastes and my preferences are my own. But I think we're headed in a much better direction. Conservatives played by the rules of the game. We went out, we busted our tails, we got congressmen and senators elected, we got presidents elected, they put people on the courts. Sometimes those choices were a bust, David Souter being one of the biggest examples of that. God almighty, he was a waste of a seat. In some cases, they started out conservative, just kind of drifted. Sandy O'Connor, you can make that argument. Until finally one day, under a unique set of circumstances, we got a court that when a case about abortion came up to him, Dobbs, they said, no, we reverse Roe. There is no right to abortion under the Constitution. The matter is turned back over to the states. When a question about the Chevron deference came up, they're like, nope, nope, nope. The administrative agencies do not have the right to start taking powers unto them that's not specifically granted under law. That's reserved to the Congress. Chevron deference, gone. When the court finally got a case about affirmative action, 2023, affirmative action, dead. We don't recognize that for admission for college basis for colleges. Out you go. And then slowly but surely over time, the court got better. And again, we got a long way to go. We got some issues we really need to address through the law. Social media is, right now they're ducking that issue. The court, as far as I'm concerned anyway, they had a great chance this term to do something about it. They punted. But the court's moving in a direction that's a more conservative bent. But political liberals, political progressives like Joe Biden, AOC, Kamala, they're like, oh, this is extremism. Really? How do you think we felt for 50 years? When all kinds of decisions, all kinds of doctrines, all kinds of precedent that had been established for 150 plus years of the American experiment were just suddenly just ripped up. So no, not constitutional. Not constitutional. This is constitutional. That's not constitutional. 50 years of that. Did you see us calling for a change to the Supreme Court? Did you see us calling for new Supreme Court seats? Did you see us calling for the kind of reforms Biden wants? No. We played by the rules of the game. We went in there. We got a more conservative court. And we're not done yet, by the way. But now, because the pendulum is swinging the other way, Biden and the Democrat Party and progressives, they don't like this. Therefore, they've got to do something about it. And hence we get back to the article. Biden used his remarks to warn in stark terms of the dangers of an extreme and polarized court, arguing that it would undo civil rights protections and grant excessive power to future presidents. He cited a slew of recent Supreme Court opinions that he said have, quote, undermined long-established civil rights principles and protections. He pointed to the 2013 Shelby County case that gutted aspects of the Voting Rights Act. That's a bit excessive in its commentary. The 2022 ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade, the 2023 ruling that ended affirmative action, and this year's ruling that granted wide immunity to presidents for official acts taken while in office. Quote, this nation was founded on the principle there are no kings in America, Biden said. Each of us legally follows the law. No one is above the law. For all practical purposes, the court's decision almost certainly means that a president can violate their oath, flout our laws, and face no consequences. That's not true, Joe. That's not true. There is the power of impeachment. The Supreme Court did not say that a president is beyond the law. It just simply said, no, you can't go after him after he leaves office for actions he takes while he's in office. If they relate directly to his constitutional duties. And frankly, by the way, Joe, the Supreme Court never would have had to make that decision if you and your ilk hadn't gone after Trump as hard as you did. Odds are the court never would have had to answer that question. Although, frankly, they probably should have. But up to now, it had never been brought up. So if you don't like what the court did, it's your own fault. Anyway, back to the article. Quote, this nation was founded on the principle there are no kings in America, Biden said. Each of us legally follows the law. No one is above the law. For all practical purposes, the court's decision almost certainly means that a president... Oh, I read that, okay. And face no consequences. Okay, sorry about that, folks. The speech came hours after Biden announced in an op-ed a three-part proposal to reform the Supreme Court. The president called for term limits on justices, a binding code of ethics, and a constitutional amendment to counteract the justice's recent presidential immunity decision. It marked a major shift for the president, who had long resisted calls from the left for such reform. Biden's speech on Monday also served to mark the 60th anniversary of former President Johnson's signing into law of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The event was attended by Johnson's daughter, Linda Robb, and many Democrat lawmakers, including Senator Raphael Warnock, Democrat of Georgia, Senator Alex Padilla, Democrat of California, and Representative Jim Clyburn, Democrat, South Carolina. During his remarks, Biden delivered some of the most direct condemnations today of the court's ethics controversies, describing, quote, obvious conflicts of interest. The recent scandals include reports of conservative Justice Clarence Thomas accepting luxury trips and gifts from a billionaire and Republican megadonor, though the controversies have implicated justices in both ideological camps. Biden said the court is not self-policing as he attacked the court's ethics code that it released in November with no enforcement mechanism. The court's current ethics code is weak and even more frightening, voluntary. Yeah, but there's just one little problem with that, Joe. It's not your branch of government. Remember, you're the one that said you respect separation of powers. You respect the institution. Well, guess what? It's their institution. Now, when I say their, I mean it's the Supreme Court's business to police it. If a justice is caught in an egregious, which, by the way, this whole thing with Thomas is nothing more than you stirring up the dirt. Okay? But if it really gets bad enough that there's a blatant and obvious conflict of interest, okay, at that point, then we'll do something about it. But this is nothing more than good old-fashioned red meat for the base during an election. Nothing more, nothing less. And like I said, the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court's institution. Let them police themselves. Anyhow, back to the article a little bit more. He also argued for 18-year term limits for justices. Such limits would make appointments more predictable, Biden said, and would prevent a single president from drastically reshaping the court, a thinly veiled nod to former President Trump's appointment of 3 conservative justices during his 4 years of office. Quote, that would help ensure the country would not have what it has now, an extreme court that's the byproduct of an attack on the confirmation process that weaponized by those seeking to carry out an extreme agenda for decades to come. And again, Joe, please define extreme agenda. It cracks me up. It really does. It always cracks me up. It kills me that you don't see yourself as the extremists. It really does. You don't see yourself as being the extreme. It's everybody else that's wrong. It's everybody else that's crazy. It's everybody else that's extreme, not you. Oh, no. You're one of the enlightened ones. Of course, the light on your bulb is a bit dim these days, but that's a whole other subject. WWG 1 over on almost says extreme equals what he doesn't like. Exactly. Exactly. It kills me. Absolutely kills me. Everybody else is the extremist except for Democrats and progressives and liberals. Yeah, and Biden ignores the court anyway. Great point. Great point indeed. All right, just about done with this article. The push is widely viewed as something of a big swing to cement Biden's legacy after he announced earlier this month he would not seek re-election. Vice President Harris on Monday said she supported the president's proposal, and like Biden, the vice president does not support expanding the court. Whatever. A spokesperson for her campaign told The Hill. White House officials acknowledge his reform proposals face long odds to become reality as they would require constitutional action, but suggested public support for Supreme Court reform would help create pressure on Congress to act. Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, earlier Monday called Biden's proposal dead on arrival. His thinking is dead on arrival. Biden said in his remarks on Monday. Well, there you go. Whatever. So yeah, Biden's out there trying to change the Supreme Court. Okay. All right. My only worry about term limits is in order to do it, you're going to have a constitutional amendment. I don't like the idea of term limits because it's a lifetime appointment. For almost 250 years, We have never had a question about whether or not somebody should be appointed lifetime to the bench. Now, there have been some people who should have retired long before they did. I mean, and I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, Joe Biden's out there, in a thinly veiled complaint, Donald Trump got to appoint 3 justices. Well, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg would have listened to people back when Barack Obama was president, she could have stepped down. Instead, she wanted Hillary to be the one to name her successor. Well, Hillary didn't get elected. And bless her heart, Ginsburg tried to hang on for as long as she could. And then, unfortunately, she passed away. William O. Douglas was so addled by a stroke he suffered in the either late 60s or early 1970s. I mean, it was awful, the condition he was in before he finally handed it over. Matter of fact, I'm wanting to say Douglas died while on the bench, but I could be wrong about that. But I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with a lifetime appointment. I just don't like the idea of term limiting them. And to me, it's just giving in. It's just giving in to demand of the left. So then when something else comes along they don't like, what else are we going to change about the court? No. If liberals and progressives don't like the rules, how things are going, then go out and outwork people like me. Well, yeah, and I mean that's another thing too. If we're going to do it for the Supreme Court, let's do it for Congress. Of course, Joe's never going to propose that, as he spent almost 50 years of his life in the Senate. Anyhow, so let's take a look at some of these proposals. What it is he's wanting to do. And we've got him speaking here at the LBJ Library. So let me get this pulled up. And as always, guys, do me a favor, give me a sound check on this. And here's Biden in his own words.
Today I'm calling for 3.
Wait a minute. Hang on. I love it when my computer does this stuff to me. There we go. Now I think I got that fixed. All right, let's try this again. Again, give me a sound check, guys. Let me know if this comes through okay. Oh, for heaven's sake. Like I said, guys, all right, I'm coming. Hang on. I love my computer. I just love it. All right, let's try this. Let's try this one more time. Okay. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and here we go.
Today I'm calling for 3 bold reforms to restore trust and accountability. First, I'm calling for a constitutional amendment called No One is Above the Law Amendment. It holds, and I mean this sincerely, it holds that there's no immunity for crimes former president committed while in office. The second thing I'm asking for, we've had term limits for presidents of the United States for nearly 75 years after the Truman administration. And I believe we should have term limits for Supreme Court justices of the United States as well. Third, I'm calling for a binding code of conduct for the Supreme Court. Under the reform I propose, justice would be required to disclose gifts, refrain from public political activity, recuse themselves in cases in which they or their spouses have a financial or other conflict of interest.
And that's Joe Biden in his own words. That's what he wants to do, folks. WWG1 says, no one is above the law amendment. Sounds like something a 4th grader would propose in student government. Well, WWG1, maybe he thinks he's back in 4th grade. I don't know, man. Just saying. That's a great point. That's an absolutely great point. Great point indeed. Now, I said a moment ago his idea about term limits would require a constitutional amendment, and to explain why, let me point out something. This is Article 3 of the United States Constitution, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall, at stated times, receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Now, the key phrase here is shall hold their offices during good behavior. It's generally understood from that phrase that they shall serve lifetime appointments. So the only way he's going to get an 18-year term limit, he's going to have to amend the Constitution, and that's not going anywhere anytime soon because the House of Representatives will never take that up. So, like I say, much fodder indeed for the base of the Democrat Party to make them feel better about themselves. But past that, it's not going to have any practical effect. Beyond that, however, there are criticisms of what Biden is proposing. I think we are looking at one. Now, and who's offering these criticisms? I almost puke at the idea of bringing up this guy's name, but a former Attorney General of the United States has come out and offered his observations. William Barr, formerly Trump's Attorney General, has a thing or two to say about Biden's proposal. And trust me, this will get some conversation going, not just Barr's commentary, but this whole proposal over the next few days. Article from thehill.com, written by Miranda Nazaro, we've got the following. Former Attorney General Bill Barr offered his concerns about President Biden's reform proposals for the Supreme Court on Monday, arguing they would eliminate the High Court's conservative justices and destroy the independence of the judiciary. Quote, Americans need to understand that the campaign to radically change the court is coming. While current proposals like term limits for the longest-serving justices and imposed code of ethics threaten the Constitution and the separation of powers, the far left is demanding that the court be packed with additional liberal justices. Barr and Kelly Shackelford, the president, CEO, and chief counsel for First Liberty Institute, wrote in an op-ed with Fox News on Monday. Barr and Shackelford said such changes will become reality if the eventual Democrat nominee, likely Vice President Harris, wins in November. Quote, if they win, that is exactly what will happen, and it will only take a majority vote and the signature of the president, they wrote, pointing to a comment from Harris, who reportedly has said she is open to a conversation about increasing the number of justices on the court. Biden released his own op-ed in the Washington Post on Monday, endorsing broad reforms to the nation's highest court. Barr's op-ed pointed to comments made by then-Senator Biden in 1983, in which he argued changing the court structure was a bonehead idea. He was right. The last thing we need in this country right now is a Supreme Court coup that would threaten our democratic republic, the op-ed stated. Echoing the sentiments of many Republicans who are steadfastly opposed to court reform, Barr and Shackelford accused the left of attempting to take over the bench due to anger over some of its recent decisions. Quote, the left is just upset by a small number of cases with which they disagree, and they are willing to take down the court and the rule of law to get their way, Barr and Shackelford stated in the op-ed. The Supreme Court is the only branch of government that stands in the way of one-party rule. The op-ed painted a grim picture for what court packing would look like, suggesting civil and religious liberties would be limited, and the First Amendment rights for the left's political opponents will be trampled. Quote, in truth, court reform is nothing more than a desperate attack to subvert the legitimacy of the Supreme Court because it contains a majority of justices committed to the Constitution to originalism, Barr and Shackelford wrote. If this coup succeeds, the rule of law will be over as the judiciary will become little more than a political tool of whomever holds power. I would like to make one observation that And I'm not going to sit here and say that I can plumb the minds of the founding fathers when they got together in Philadelphia, but there is one good reason that I can think of for why you do not want term limits on justices. Look, the whole reason, in part, that you put people on the court for life is they are not swayed by an election. They don't have to worry about who's elected president, who's not elected president, what laws are being passed by the Congress, etc. The intent is that they rule judiciously and more particularly impartially. They don't have to look over their shoulder and wonder, well, I got 2 years left on my term. I wonder if I should rule on this one the way I really want to or the way I need to. And like I said, the thing that bugs me, and again, and people can disagree with me on this if they want to, and that's perfectly fine. But where I come down with this is, to me, to give in on this is just to give the left more. It's almost like putting out red meat in front of them. Okay, we got to change this. Now let's get them to change this. Just push it a little more and a little more and a little more and a little more until finally they get what they want just by moving, just move the ball a foot. And before you know it, they've gone 300 feet from one end zone to the other. I just don't like the idea. I like the independence of the judiciary, and I like a lifetime appointment. I could wind up getting a judge who genuinely sucks, and Lord knows we have over the years. Yeah, okay, all right. I can see your point. They push a little through the judiciary, and before you know it, they've moved the ball. But I would rather take my chances with a lifetime appointment on the court and see what happens from there. But that's just me. So this is what Biden's got going on right now. Well, I tell you what, it's about 10 minutes after 11. Let me do a real quick commercial here. Before I do, let me read some comments over on Rumble. TBA says, "Why? We need more liberal justices on SCOTUS because we can't enforce our communist will on the American people and the current 9. I can hear the liberals whinging and crying and reeing already. Overton window." Well, there you go. WWG1 says, "I thought I was appointed a lifetime mod. Was I mistaken?" No, WWG1, your appointment as a mod is a lifetime consideration unless you come to me and say, "Front Porch, I've done my duty for your social media kingdom and your country. I am now ready to retire my moderator duties." Well, if that day ever comes, we'll have that conversation. No, the check didn't bounce, TBA. Just hush your mouth over there. The check did not bounce. Anyway. All right. Real quick commercial. We'll move on to our next topic. If you just happen to find your way to this live stream and you're checking us out and you're seeing this funny looking fellow in the hat, you might be asking yourself, what the heck is this all about and who the heck is this guy? Well, let me answer those questions in reverse. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative, and this live stream is known as Chattin on the Porch. We get together Monday through Thursday, usually around 7:30 in the evening, Eastern Standard Time, on Rumble, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And we get together and we talk about the news. So if that's your sort of thing, if you want to offer up your opinion, for example, old Clip Culture, he's checking in with us over on Twitter. Glad to have you there, Clip. We got people checking us out on YouTube. Always good to have everybody here. We got people checking us out on Rumble. If that is your sort of thing, if you want to offer up your take on things, even if you don't necessarily agree with me, that's fine. Come on in, pull up a chair, sit down, tell us who you are. We'll welcome you with open arms. We've got people joining on Rumble and on YouTube all the time. Always glad to have new members of Fedora Nation, which is what we call the folks who hang out with us. And we'd love to have your support. So go ahead, become a subscriber on YouTube, become a subscriber on Rumble. Give me a thumbs up on this live stream. I genuinely appreciate it. And also, if you wouldn't mind, share the link around. It would really help me out a great deal. All right. Let us shift gears and go south of the border. No, I do not mean down to Mexico. When I say south, I mean way down south. South America. Man, have you guys seen what's going on down in Venezuela? Holy crap. It's just, man, there is some funky stuff going on down there. I remember doing was it a video or was it a live stream earlier this year? I think it was January, talking about all the various elections that were coming up, not just in the US, but literally around the world. Okay. There are a blue slew of countries this year on every major continent. Well, I can't really speak for, Antarctica, and the Arctic, but maybe the penguins are voting up there. Who knows? Anyhow, on every major continent, there is an election taking place this year. Now, some of them have turned out fairly well. Some of them, okay. But man, what's going on in Venezuela right now is just downright crazy. Now, as y'all know, Venezuela has a communist leader, Maduro, and ever since the communists got their hands on Venezuela, man, it is no bueno. No bueno at all. It's not good. Well, they had an election over the weekend, particularly on Sunday. And I'm not going to lie to you. There were shades of 2020 all throughout this thing. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick look at what's going on and some of the reaction. Oh, yeah. Ooh, baby. You got that right. You got that right. So let's take a quick look at what's going on, and we'll see if we can figure this thing out. From the pages of Breitbart, we have the following. Socialist dictator Maduro wins Venezuela sham election. Now, you notice the words wins and election are in parentheses, and I think you're going to start to understand why here in just a minute. Article by Christian K. Caruso, we have the following. Venezuela's National Election Council, the CNE, declared socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro the winner of Sunday's sham presidential election, granting him a 6-year term. The results heavily contradict exit polls and preliminary poll tallies that suggested an overwhelming victory for Venezuelan opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez, the only legitimate opposition candidate allowed to be on the ballot against the ruling dictator. The Venezuelan opposition immediately contested the official results, claiming Gonzalez defeated Maduro by a roughly 40-point vote difference. Now, folks, I don't have them pulled up, but I kept seeing all kinds of stuff on Twitter all day on Sunday where, according to various people, I mean, that article from Breitbart is not exaggerating. The exit poll showed that Gonzalez, the opposition leader to Maduro, if the exit polls were to be believed, was winning by about 30 to 40 points. I mean, literally, you had people cheering in the streets at the possibility they were about to slough off by peaceful vote. They were about to get rid of a communist government. I mean, people were dancing in the streets. They were happy when these announcements would be announced. It was absolutely fantastic. And then all of a sudden, Maduro wins by about 7 points. I mean, everybody's like, huh? What? He did? Really? Anyway, like I said, shades of 2020. We'll get to more of that in a minute. All right, let's get back to this article. Unlike previous sham elections in Venezuela, which featured extremely low voter turnouts, Sunday saw millions of Venezuelans head to the polls in numbers described by opposition leader figure Maria Corina Machado as amazing. Eyewitnesses reported large queues in voting centers across the country throughout the day. Although Machado was the opposition front-running candidate, the Maduro regime banned her from running for any public office in response to her support for international human rights sanctions against the socialists. Oh, isn't that convenient? I don't know. Well, where have I heard that sort of thing before? Is that kind of like Democrats trying to keep Bobby Kennedy off the ballot? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I must be imagining things. Anyway, back to the article. While footage showed higher voter turnout in Venezuela's voting centers, Only 69,000 Venezuelan migrants out of the millions of Venezuelans who fled from socialism were able to vote on Sunday as a result of Maduro's regime's imposing difficult and often impossible to comply with requirements on expatriates to update their voter registry information. Several reports of pro-Maduro regime thugs intimidating voters surfaced on social media throughout the day. Most notably, members of the socialist Colectivo gangs assaulted a voting center located in the state of Táchira during the Sunday evening vote tallying process, resulting in the death of a 40-year-old Julio Valerio Garcia and several injured. Exit polls and footage published on social media showed that Gonzalez had obtained overwhelming victories against Maduro in each voting center as it finished tallying its votes, leading to early celebrations from the Venezuelan electorate. However, head of CNE Elvis Amoroso addressed the country in the early midnight hours on Monday to declare Maduro the winner of the sham election with 51.2% of the vote against Gonzalez's 44.2%. Late in the night election results. Wonder if I've ever heard of that sort of thing taking place in America. Now, you know what that sort of reminds me of? Oh my gosh. Didn't late in the night sort of things happen down in Atlanta? Oh, yeah. That water pipe conveniently busted in that vote counting place they had down there in Fulton County. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, places in Michigan stopped counting votes. What do you know? Oh, geez. Well, what else have we got here? 51 to 44, a 7-point victory. But again, the funny thing about it is Gonzalez, according to exit polls, was beating Maduro by 40 points. So you're telling me we had a almost 50-point swing to Maduro? Really? I don't know, y'all. Shady is all get out, it sounds like. Amoroso claimed that the announcement of the, quote, results had to be delayed due to regime-controlled electoral authorities having to resolve an aggression against the data transmission systems. Oh, God. Oh, my God. This is 2020 all over again. Had to be, I got to read this again, had to be delayed due to regime-controlled electoral authorities having to, quote, resolve an aggression against the data transmission systems that adversely delayed the transmission of results without providing further details. Oh, my Lord. That is just awful. Just awful. All right, back to it. We won, and everybody knows that Machado said, we want to tell all of Venezuela and the world that Venezuela has a new president-elect and is Edmundo González Urrutia. González Urrutia obtained 70% of the votes. Nicolas Maduro got 30%. This is the truth. We have 40% of the tally sheets. We do not know where CNE got the others from. Eduardo González Urrutia obtained 70% of the votes, and Maduro 30%. It's the election of the highest participation in history. The regime knows what happened and what it intends to do. The whole international community knows it, even those who were once allies. Maduro immediately celebrated his victory, claiming there will be, quote, peace, stability, and justice in Venezuela. Last week, the socialist dictator threatened a bloodbath if he did not win on Sunday. I want peace, love, and understanding, and I have the power you have given me and the civil military police union to promote the most powerful and great national dialogue of economic, social, cultural, political, moral, and spiritual understanding, Maduro said. Maduro also claimed that the Venezuelan electorate system suffered a hacking attempt that allegedly sought to prevent the publication of his victory results. Venezuela suffered an attack, a massive hacking. We already know which country it comes from. A massive attack on the CNE transmission results because the demons did not want it to be totalized and the result to be given today, Maduro said without providing further details or evidence that substantiated his claims. Maduro's victory was heavily questioned by several regional leaders and by U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who said he had serious concerns that the result announced did not reflect the votes or the will of the Venezuelan people. I have a message for Anthony Blinken. Shut up! Shut up! I don't want to hear a single solitary syllable come out of the mouth of anybody in the Biden State Department or any other part of the political left in America about the results in Venezuela. After what was done in 2020 to thwart the will of the American people, you have absolutely not an ounce of moral authority, nor do you have the right, as far as I'm concerned, to issue one statement whatsoever about any other country's election results. So shut up, sit down, and shut up. Not a word. I don't want to hear it. You have nothing to say. Not at all. Anyway, back to this article. Blinken repeatedly promoted the idea of having Maduro hold a free and fair election in Venezuela for years, apparently trusting the CNE to administer one. Shortly before the CNE proclaimed Maduro's victory, Argentine President Javier Milei announced in a social media post that Argentina would not recognize another fraud and hoped that the Venezuelan armed forces will defend democracy and the popular will this time. Quote, Dictator Maduro, out. Venezuelans chose to end the communist dictatorship of Nicolas Maduro, the data announcing a crushing victory for the opposition, and the world is waiting for it to recognize defeat after years of socialism, misery, decadence, and death, Milei's message read. Argentine Foreign Minister Diana Mondino urged Maduro to acknowledge his defeat, stating that the difference in votes against the ruling socialists was overwhelming. They lost in every state by more than 35%. There is no fraud or violence that hides reality. Chilean far-left President Gabriel Boric, who has regularly been critical of Maduro's human rights abuses, stressed that the results published by the Maduro regime are difficult to believe and announced that Chile would not recognize any result that is not verifiable. President of Costa Rica, Rodrigo Chavez Robles, described the results as fraudulent in a statement and asserted that democratic governments on the continent and international organizations to ensure that the sacred will of the Venezuelan people is respected. Guatemalan President Bernardo Arevalo expressed that he received CNE's results with doubts. Quote, for this reason, the reports of the electoral observation missions are essential, which today more than ever must defend the vote of Venezuelans, and on it goes. Leaders all over Central and South America are absolutely giving Maduro the riot act over this. Good evening, dear. Probably, but it makes me feel better to shout it from the rooftops. Yeah, I don't want to hear anybody on the left in America complaining about what's going on in Venezuela. Shut up. You have not a right to say a thing. TBA, I saw that message over there on Rumble, and brother, have a good night. Have a good night indeed. Glad to have you here. Yeah. Oh, I love this. A burro knows more than Maduro. Yeah. Very true. Well, folks, it doesn't stop there. The people of Venezuela are not taking this one lying down, and I don't know what's going to happen yet, but there are images coming out of Venezuela throughout the day and even going into this evening that it looks like they're rising up. Now, What happens, I don't know, but my prayers are with the Venezuelan people. As a matter of fact, here's another story from Breitbart. Venezuela protesters are being tear gassed as opposition cries foul over Maduro re-election. This is from the Associated Foreign Press. Venezuelan security forces fired tear gas Monday on protesters challenging the re-election victory claimed by President Nicolas Maduro, but disputed by the opposition and questioned abroad. Thousands of people flooded the streets of several neighborhoods of the capital, chanting, "Freedom, freedom, and this government is going to fall." Oh, boy. Some ripped Maduro campaign posters from street posts and burned them. Many banged pots and pans, a traditional form of protest in Latin America. AFP observed members of the National Guard firing tear gas in the direction of protesters, some wearing motorbike helmets and bandanas tied over their faces for protection. Some responded by throwing rocks at Guard members. Maduro, 61, attended a meeting earlier Monday in which the National Election Council certified his re-election to a third 6-year term until 2031. At this event, Maduro dismissed international criticism and doubts about the result of Sunday's voting, claiming Venezuela was the target of an attempted coup d'état of fascist and counter-revolutionary nature. As international criticism mounted, Caracas announced it was pulling diplomatic staff from 7 Latin American countries which had questioned whether Maduro actually won. The elections were held amid widespread fears of fraud by the government and a campaign tainted by accusations of political intimidation. Pollsters had predicted a resounding victory for the opposition, even though courts loyal to the regime barred its popular leader, Maria Corina Machado, from running for president and challenging Maduro. In the early hours Monday, CNE said Maduro received 51.2% of the vote cast, compared to 44.2% for Machado's proxy, Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia. The opposition cried foul, saying it had taken at least 2/3 of the vote. Attorney General Tarek William Saab later linked Machado to an alleged hacking attack seeking to adulterate the results. And like I say, folks, this is not over yet. Matter of fact, I've got some images here from Twitter, and I'll show them. Here is let me back this up a second. Here's an area somewhere in Venezuela, and this has shades of the end of communist rule in Eastern Europe. And that's just one among many. Let me find another one here. Yeah, here's one where they're just beating the crap out of a Maduro statue, just trying to take it down. This one, I'm not sure what city this is in, but people are just absolutely taken to the streets. Here's where some people were ripping down one of Maduro's campaign signs, just letting it fall to the ground. Supposedly, these are images from Venezuela's main airport in Mequicia. This fight to end Nicolas Maduro and his socialism regime will go down in history. I don't think this is over with yet, folks. They may have had an election on Sunday, but we'll see what happens. I mean, my thoughts and prayers are with the people of Venezuela. And I want to go back to something. Yeah, this is the scary part. This is where we could be headed. We got a taste of this. We got a taste of this back in 2020. But when I was going through that Breitbart article, I want to ask you guys a question. How many of y'all either watching this live right now or will be watching it later, how many of y'all had shades of 2020 go through your head? I mean, seriously, everything that was reported in that article, that first one we read from Breitbart, man, I had flashbacks to, the supposedly broken water pipe at the Atlanta vote counting center at about 12 o'clock, maybe around 11 o'clock, midnight. They stopped counting the votes, claiming they needed more time or people were going home. Just stop counting votes in 4 different states, all of them simultaneously. Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. No, 5, I'm sorry. Georgia was in that group. In 5 different states, just stop counting votes. Then all of a sudden, the leads that Donald Trump had overnight just magically started to disappear by morning. And before you knew it, Joe Biden had a lead. Hey, but it was the safest, most secure election ever, according to William Barr, don't you know? Experts said, yep, nothing wrong with the 2020 election in America. Nope, not a thing wrong with it. Everything was fine. Yeah. I think, Robert, my friend, you are absolutely right. I am always happy to be able to participate in an election as a voter because I feel like it's my civic duty. But I am not going to lie. I get a little bit more afraid. Not necessarily for myself personally, but I get every time for my country on a national level because our culture has become so debased that, I mean, I think back to the 2016 election when Donald Trump won. I mean, I understand people being disappointed. You didn't get the result you want. But when he got sworn in on January 20th, you remember that famous picture of that person with the beanie and the glasses, like, you know, when the words Donald Trump has been inaugurated president just cried out. And I was sitting there going, really? And then you had shop owners in DC putting up plywood over the windows because they were scared to death of rioting and looting. Funny thing about it is the only people that riot and loot in an election that they don't win are the left. When Joe Biden was inaugurated, conservatives didn't do that. And I have no problem saying it. Yeah, we acted like civilized human beings, which is more than I can say for some people on the left. Just some food for thought. Okay. 20 minutes till 9. Let's do a real quick commercial. Oh, okay. What's this? I was in D.C. that day watching in a bar. Walked outside of the bar to protest right away, and lots of women crying. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The world's going to come to an end if Donald Trump is elected. And to listen to him now, they absolutely think that if Trump gets back in, the world's going to come to an end. Donald Trump's going to get us into a war. Well, we're already involved in Ukraine and Israel. Donald Trump's going to sink the economy. Well, Joe Biden's already done that. Donald Trump is going to cause us to lose rights and freedoms. There are people locked up in jail right now just for politically protesting. Donald Trump's going to, everything that they claim Donald Trump's going to cause is already happening. And they don't even realize it. It just really breaks the heart. It really does. Okay. Real quick commercial, then we're going to shift gears to one more topic for the evening. And with that, it is about 20 minutes till 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome, if you're here for the very first time, to Chattin on the Porch, a live stream that we do Monday through Thursday nights at 7:30 Eastern, where we get together and we talk about things that we find in the news. Sometimes I find them, sometimes other people find them, and we sit down and talk about them. We give our opinion. We kind of laugh about it. In some cases, we have to cry about it. But otherwise, we kind of hold each other's hands. We look each other in the eye and say, I got you, bro. We're going to get through this thing. We're on Rumble, we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. And we talk about this stuff all the time. And when we're not doing it during the week, we do it on Saturday because sometimes you just can't make it through the week. You got too much stuff going on, which I get. So we do a thing on Saturday mornings called Front Porch Brunch. Runs a little over 2 hours, sometimes 3, depending on, how windy I'm feeling. And again, we get together and we hang out and talk about some stuff maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about through the week. I try to put together a fun little show, and hopefully you enjoy it. So if you like what you're hearing right now, and you like the possibility of being a part of this, do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe on Rumble and on YouTube. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up for this live stream. I genuinely appreciate it. And also share the link around. Become a part of Fedora Nation. Help me out here. This is a going little concern. We like to see it become a going big concern. And I can do that with you guys subscribing in both places, hitting the thumbs up, and hit the bell for notifications. I always want you to know when we're going to come back and do something new. WWG1 says, you have a lot of wind. I beg your pardon, sir. How dare you? How dare you? Let's see. All of DC in 2020 was boarded up. All businesses within 5. And the funny part about it wasn't right-wingers that were doing anything. Yeah, 919 folks subscribed on YouTube. Come on, man. Help a brother out here. Let's get me to 1,000. But I tell you what, though, on a side note, Rumble, I love you. Man, every time I turn around, every other day or every couple of days, I got 2 or 3 new subscribers on Rumble, which, bless your... Matter of fact, I ought to give a quick shout out right now to the new folks on Rumble who are subscribing over there. I mean, we've got Dennis CR, Lace 57 Mar. We've got DI Donne. Yeah, way to go, Rumble. I genuinely appreciate it. We're up to what was it now? 200 and, what is it, 227? I think. Oh, come on now. Yeah, we're up to 227 subscribers over on Rumble, which I am tickled to death with. That is great. And yeah, hopefully, who knows, the rate we're going over on Rumble, we might crack 250 before the election or something. So, which I think is very possible. Maybe we might get to 300 before the end of the year. You never know. So yeah, please, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and subscribe on Rumble, subscribe on YouTube. Greatly appreciate it. Would help me out a whole lot. Let me see here. They were the boarding up at the time. They claimed that Trump supporters would be violent if Biden won, but in reality, it was in case Trump had won. BLM. So exactly. I'm not surprised by that at all, Sculpt. I really am not. Not in the slightest. All right. Let us shift gears and talk about some things that are going on in the U.S. elections. Oh, don't worry, WWG1. They're listening to you. He says, I tell everyone I know to not subscribe. Wait a minute. What? Hang on now. I misread that. I was about to say something nice to you, but I'm not so sure I want to do that now. Anywho, let's talk about the U.S. election. And I want to go back and revisit a question that I had asked, I guess, past 2 or 3 sessions when we've gotten together. Everybody now is, obviously aware that Joe Biden is not going to run for re-election. And I asked a question, and up to now, I have not gotten a satisfactory answer. And the question that I had asked was, where was Kamala? And what I'm talking about is this. The weekend that went down when Joe Biden announced that he would not seek re-election, which now is about what? We're about 8 or 9 days past that. I kept asking, where was Kamala? Because we know about a report that said that Joe Donnellan and Steve Ricchetti, who were longtime assistants to Joe Biden, drove up to his house in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and according to Politico, they had a meeting with him. Okay, not unusual. Biden had suffered a very embarrassing performance in the debate. Democrats were saying he needs to get out. There was a lot of public pressure, but Joe was hanging tough. Okay, he was not going to give this thing up. And somewhere between that meeting and 1:45 on Sunday afternoon, when Joe Biden posted a letter on Twitter announcing to the world that he would not be running, something changed. Something happened. Something made him change his mind. Now, there's a story out of the New York Post that ran sometime last week that, according to reports, Joe Biden was threatened with the invocation of the 25th Amendment. Now, if you don't know what the 25th Amendment does, it basically is this. If in the opinion of the vice president and a majority of the officers of the cabinet, they feel that the president is unable to fulfill the duties of his office, or his or her, let me rephrase that, then they can submit a letter to the Speaker of the House and to the Senate pro tempore, stating that the president is incapacitated for some reason, and therefore the powers and the duties of the president shall fall to the vice president. And there's several other parts to it that goes along with it. But that's basically what the 25th Amendment does. Well, according to a report coming out of the New York Post, that's exactly what happened. Well, we now have confirmation from another reporter, and given who it is, I'm not saying that I didn't believe or I don't believe what was reported in the New York Post, but given who this guy is, I tend to give it a little more weight. The legendary Seymour Hersh has weighed in on this thing. Now, if you're not familiar with Seymour Hersh, tell you a little bit about this boy. Now, you might know that name more recently because of his reporting on the Nord Stream pipeline. Okay. Hersh is now close to 90 years old. He's an independent journalist. He's a writer. This guy has been around forever and a day. Let me pull up his Wikipedia. Okay. He's 87 years old. He's born in Chicago. He's a journalist. He's a writer. This guy has been around for years. And I mean years. He's worked for the Associated Press. He's worked for any number of different people. Matter of fact, his first, one of the biggest things that he just offhand, okay, he is remembered. The big break that he got was this: the My Lai massacre, the murder of anywhere between 347 and 504 unarmed Vietnamese civilians by U.S. soldiers in a village in March of '68. Okay, this is the story that got Seymour Hersh out there. Now, let me tell you something about Seymour. Contrary to the opinion of some lefties these days, Seymour is an equal opportunity offender. He's written stories over the years that have pissed off people on the right and pissed off people on the left. Okay, so we're talking about a guy that's been around the block and he's made everybody mad equally. But when Seymour Hersh drops a story, and I'm not saying there haven't been moments where he could be wrong, but when Seymour Hersh drops a story, odds are you better pay attention because he's probably got his hands on something that's interesting to read and probably pretty well sourced. Well, such is the case. I've got a story here from the Post Millennial, and it references Seymour Hersh's story. And the headline is this: Obama and Kamala threatened to invoke 25th Amendment on Biden before he dropped out. Now, you might be sitting there saying, but Front Porch, we already know this. Of course they invoked the 25th Amendment. But we had only one source for that, which was the New York Post. Now we have confirmation from another journalist, independent of anybody else. So that's why I'm putting a little more weight on this. And not only do we have confirmation, we've got some details that we didn't have before. So let's take a look at this story and see what we got here. Article written by Libby Emmons. I love Libby. She's awesome. Got to get her on here sometime if she's willing to come on. A new Substack out of Seymour Hersh indicates that former President Barack Obama and Vice President Kamala Harris, now presumptive Democrat nominee for president, threatened sitting President Joe Biden with the potential invocation of the 25th Amendment if he didn't drop out of the presidential race and cede that spot to the Veep. This would mean they not only did they force Biden out of the race, but the Democrats know full well that Biden isn't fit to serve out the rest of the term, but are comfortable with letting him continue as a figurehead if it serves their efforts to retain power for the party. Biden engaged in a debate with former president and GOP nominee for President Donald Trump on June 27th. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting. Now, this is from Hersh's article. By Saturday, July 20th, former President Barack Obama was deeply involved, and there was talk that he would place a call to Biden. It was not clear whether Biden had been examined or just what happened to him in Vegas. The big three, the officials said, referring to former House Speaker Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, continued to be directly involved. And again, this is from Hersh's article. On Sunday morning, the official told me, with the approval of Pelosi and Schumer, Obama called Biden after breakfast and said, "Here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th Amendment." It was clear at that point, the official told Hersh, that she would get the nod, that is, the support to run for the presidency in the November election. But Obama also made it clear that he was not going to immediately endorse her, but the group had decided that her work as a prosecutor would help her deal with Trump in a debate. A little more from Hersh's article. The official, who has decades of experience in fundraising, told me that Obama emerged as the strongman throughout the negotiations. Quote, he had an agenda and he wanted to seek it through to the end, and he wanted to have control over who would be elected. Now, let's stop and talk about this for a minute. I had asked the question, where was Kamala? Where was Kamala? How come we weren't hearing Kamala Harris's name? Well, if Seymour Hersh is right in his reporting, Kamala was one of two things during this whole process. She was either an accomplice to the crime, or she was the godfather conspiring behind the scenes. Now, here's what I'm getting at. Now, Hersh's reporting makes it sound like this is Obama's doing, and that he just got Kamala to go along with it. Okay, maybe that's the case. Maybe I'm reading a little bit more into it than what's there. Okay. But at a minimum, she's an accomplice, because the way Seymour Hersh is reporting this, Obama got the green light from Kamala to say, yeah, tell him that we will invoke the 25th Amendment. Now, think about the implication of what I just said. Kamala tells Barack Obama, yes, advise the president that we will invoke the 25th Amendment. To me, unless I'm misinterpreting this, to me, that sounds like she had a conversation with the cabinet members. Because she really couldn't make that statement unless she'd either A, talked to the cabinet members and they said, yeah, we're with you on this, or B, she was very sure if she did talk to the cabinet members, they'd go along with it. And the further implication is exactly what Libby Emmons says. They knew how bad Biden was, and they kept him in place. I will never forget what Jack Posobiec said. It's not so much that Biden got out because he has mental impairity. He got out because the Democrat Party couldn't hide it from you anymore. That's why he was forced out. If the Democrats thought that they could have kept this thing under wraps for just a few more months, Biden'd still be at the top of the ticket. We would not have what we have today, which, by the way, I want to talk to you Democrats out there for a minute. You know, you Democrats that watch this live stream, but you don't admit it to your friends because you cannot bear the thought that they're going to give you grief over watching this wild-eyed conservative boy tell you what's going on. But I want to talk to you Democrats for a minute. I want you to think about something deep down in the bottom of your political soul. Your party, of which you are a part of, is about to nominate a presidential candidate that nobody has voted for. Now, I know what you're going to respond with, okay? Oh, come on, our delegates are going to vote for her. She's going to be voted democratically. Really? Are those her delegates? Or did she just happen to pick them up when Joe was forced out? Kamala Harris did not win a single solitary primary in 2024. Kamala Harris did not win a single solitary caucus in 2024. Joe Biden won every caucus. Joe Biden won every primary. No one, and I mean no one, in the Democrat Party voted for Kamala Harris. They voted for Joe Biden, but not Kamala. By the way, for you Democrats watching this live stream, here's something else for you to think about. No one voted for Kamala Harris in the primaries in 2020. They didn't vote for her in a single caucus in 2020. Why? Because 2 months before the Iowa caucus, she quit. You are part of a political party that is about to put in a nominee that nobody, grassroots Democrats, that nobody ever voted for. Or, as my friend Gypsy here would say, they've got another plan. Maybe they're going to put somebody else in that you never voted for, by the way. How does that make you feel? Oh, come on. You're just trying to stir it up. You're just no. I'm being genuinely serious here. I don't expect you Democrats out there to vote for Donald Trump. I want you to vote your conscience. If you can live with this, fine. If you hate Donald Trump that much, go ahead and do what you're going to do. Vote for Kamala when the election rolls around in November. Go ahead. But I just want you to remember one thing. You know, all your parties talk about democracy and the will of the voter and, you know, making sure that we secure elections. That's garbage. Your party just took your will, or maybe the better say the will of 14 million voters in your party, wadded it up and threw it in the trash can. So you just think about that when the DNC gets together in Chicago here in about 3 weeks. You just think about that. Oh, and by the way, you Democrats out there watching this live stream, reports are that the Democrat National Committee is going to hold a virtual roll call vote to lock up Kamala's nomination so that no alternative candidates could be offered. So if you were thinking about maybe offering an opposition candidate to try and get a democratically elected nominee for the Democrat Party, you can forget it. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some Republicans I wouldn't give you a plug nickel for. I'm not telling you the Republican Party is necessarily any better, but the party that you're a part of is not about democracy. It is not about respecting and representing your will as a voter. I'm just saying, you might want to start thinking about it. Anyway, a few more things of note. Oh, by the way, have you guys seen the latest cover of the New Yorker magazine? We talked about this on Saturday, that right now there is this manufactured Kamala mania. You want to see how far this is going right now? Check this out. Welcome to Kamala Lot, a takeoff on Camelot, the old Kennedy vision from back in the 1960s. Look at this. This is just absolutely crazy. This is the cover of the New Yorker magazine. In a matter of days, the Democrat Party discovered its future was actually in the White House all along. Sweet Jesus. WWG wants, what is this, the Monty Python version? Well, you know, there you go. You may not be wrong, dude. You may not be wrong. Look at this thing. Holy cow, I'm telling you. Guys, we all knew that this was going to happen. We all knew the media was just going to go, was just going to have a collective cacklegasm over Kamala Harris's, nomination, and trying to convince you, the voters out there in America, that you ought to have a collective cacklegasm too. But oh my Lord, this is just bordering on the stupid. Holy cow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Jeez. Crazy. But I will say this. For all, and again, this goes back to some stuff we talked about on Saturday. For all of the collective cacklegasm that the press and certain Democrats are trying to have right now, hang on a minute. Hey, all right, hang on a minute. We're going to check this out. Give me 1 second here, folks. Gypsy just dropped something over me. I want to see this. This could be good. Hang on a minute. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, indeed. Hang on a minute. Let me get this. Give me a second here. I want to get this pulled up. Okay. I'm going to try and do this without sound. Well, I'm going to do it with the sound. It's obviously it's Spanish. It's Spanish, and therefore I'm not going to be able to translate. If someone knows Spanish and can translate some of this real quick, that's fine. If you can't, don't worry about it. But this is an image out of Venezuela, and apparently the police, or some of them, let's put it this way, some of them they're done trying to impose Maduro's will. Now what this means going forward, I don't know yet. How widespread this is that I'm about to show you, I don't know yet. But let's see. This is regional police officers through tears remove their uniforms and bulletproof vests, refusing to fight against their own people. They joined the protesters calling for the fall of the tyrant Maduro. Wow. Let's check this out. Wow. Thank you for that, Jim. Yeah, good for them. Good for them indeed. Now, like I said, I don't know how widespread this is. I don't know if this is happening all over the country. But folks, I won't say it's been a long time since I've watched this sort of thing, but this has got, I mean, to me, because I'm old enough to remember this, and I know Ruben is too, because Ruben's in the house. This has shades of the fall of the Iron Curtain in those nations that made up the old Warsaw Pact. Again, I don't know where this is going down in Venezuela. It's my prayer. It's my prayer that if this is the end of the Maduro regime and there is a democratically elected opposition government that takes power, that it's done as peacefully as possible. Oh, they're saying the word victory? Okay, thank you, Ruben. I appreciate that. There's a lot of reasons why I associate with Ruben Christopher Haynes, but part of it is he's a very, very smart man. Which, by the way, check out Ruben Christopher Haynes' YouTube channel. Follow him on Twitter. He is a genuinely good dude. Genuinely good dude. But yeah, that's what's going on in Venezuela right now. Just like I say, my prayers are with the Venezuelan people. Okay, no problem, dear. We'll be here. We'll be here. But yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens. But I pray for peace. I pray for the people of Venezuela, and I pray that if Maduro's government is coming to an end, it be done in a peaceful manner where the opposition is allowed to take control. And hopefully they can begin to steer that country back toward prosperity, because Lord knows the communists have absolutely ruined that country. Absolutely ruined it. But talking about American politics right now from my good friend Ruben Christopher Haynes. Oh yeah, I can remember this too. It was like summer of 89, going into 90 and 91. Man, those were heady days. I mean, from the time I was born till that moment, all that I had never known is a bifurcated world. There's the West and there's the East. In the West, there's freedom, and in the East, it was communism. And then, in some cases, without the firing of a single shot, communism just fell apart. And when I say without a single shot, I'm thinking of Czechoslovakia, what's generally referred to in history as the Velvet Revolution. Not a single shot was fired in Czechoslovakia. And the Czechoslovakian people found their way to freedom. And the election of Václav Havel, the legendary poet and dissident who became president of Czechoslovakia. Heady, heady days. All right. Anyway, getting back to U.S. elections. Current elections, I should say. I said that this whole thing with Kamala and Kamala Mania and cacklegasms is all manufactured. Behind closed doors, folks, they are scared to death. You don't believe me? From thehill.com. Behind the hoopla, Democrats are very anxious about Harris. Article by Alexander Bolton, we've got the following. Behind their public jubilation over Vice President Harris's swift rise to become their party's likely nominee for president, Democrat lawmakers are privately anxious about her prospects of defeating former President Trump, acknowledging she is largely untested as a candidate and faces serious challenges. And this goes back to something Michael Schellenberger said when we were talking on Saturday. We found a clip where he said she's never been really vetted, with the exception of 2019 when she ran for president. That was the first time she'd ran for office outside the confines of California. And believe me, when voters, even in the Democrat Party, when they got a taste of her, they're like, heck no, we don't want her. Ran out of money by December 2019, got out of the race. So when they say she's largely untested, they're not wrong. Anyway, back to the article. The anxiety, for the most part, has been set aside out of a deep sense of relief that President Biden decided to drop out of his reelection bid. After months of unease over the 81-year-old incumbent, Democrat lawmakers are glad to rally behind Harris in hopes she will rev up Democrat donors along with young and minority voters. But concerns are already bubbling up over Harris's ability to connect as well as Biden did in 2020 with white working class and union voters in 3 states that were critical to defeating Trump: Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Quote, "She wasn't a great candidate," one Democrat senator said of Harris's performance as a presidential candidate in 2020, when she pulled out of the Democrat primary before the Iowa caucuses. And she may not be as a political campaigner as good as Biden was in his prime, the senator said. The lawmaker argued that Harris's pure political skills won't be as crucial to her success now that almost the entire Democrat Party is rallying behind her, and now that she has a clear path to the nomination when the Democrat National Committee holds virtual proceedings early next month. Quote, "She's not campaigning in a primary. She is the candidate. She's got thousands of people working for her, and she's got a team of the smartest people, many of whom worked with her over the years," the senator said. But the senator warned that Harris won't have an easy path to victory. "We need to be very clear-eyed. It's going to be brutally tough," the lawmaker said. An Emerson College poll of registered voters in swing states conducted July 22nd to 23rd found Trump leading Harris 46 to 45% in Michigan and 48 to 46 in Pennsylvania, while the two were tied at 47 apiece in Wisconsin. Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, and his allies say Harris needs to do a lot more to win over blue-collar voters in those states. They weren't happy that Biden got shoved off the ticket after working closely with his top advisors to craft a progressive economic plan for the first 100 days of his second term. And I tell you what, I'm going to come back to something here, and I am absolutely believing this. Right now, the press and the Democrats are trying to convince you, oh, everybody's united behind Kamala. Everybody's united behind Kamala. Folks. There are people who are still pissed off about the fact that Joe Biden got thrown over the side. And good evening. He got thrown over the side here. Now, they're going to be good Democrat lawmakers, be they members of Congress or the Senate. I'm thinking particularly of, Chris Coons, the senator from Delaware, and John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania, and even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Okay? They're going to be good Democrats. They're going to endorse Kamala. But don't you think that people in the Democrat Party, even lawmakers, are not still ticked about what happened? I've got a funny theory. And y'all can say I'm crazy about this if you want to. Or you can just say I'm crazy in general, which, for most people wouldn't be too far from the truth. What do you want to bet that certain Democrats are going to give Kamala token support? Now, here's what I'm getting at. Oh, you do? You still think she'll drop out? Okay, or not. All right, it's possible. It's possible. I think you and Gypsy are on the same wavelength on that, and we'll see. I mean, look. The Democrats were willing to throw the presumptive nominee of their party off to the side. They threatened him with the 25th Amendment. So I don't know. I mean, look, there is nothing at this point that I put past the Democrats between now and the convention. Even if they virtually nominate her, which they're supposed to be doing somewhere in the next 10 days, I put nothing past them. So you may be absolutely right. We may not even have Kamala as the nominee. And can you imagine what that's going to do to Democrat voters across this country? Oh, I have heard. Good evening, Professor. I have heard about this. As a matter of fact, we're probably going to get into this tomorrow night. I don't necessarily have time to do it, But I am dying to see this. Yeah. White dudes for Kamala. Okay. Okay. I have not seen it yet, but I have heard about this. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if certain Democrats might publicly say, yeah, I'm supporting Kamala. I'm going to help her get elected. We got to defeat Donald Trump. And if they go behind the scenes and do this to her, they're going to stick the knife in her back. Which, by the way, and this is not thought, this thought is not necessarily original to me, but a lot of people are saying it. Guys, what incentive does Joe Biden have to help Kamala Harris? What incentive does Joe Biden have to help Kamala Harris? Look, Joe Biden, if what Seymour Hersh is reporting is indeed correct, okay? If what Seymour Hersh is reporting is indeed correct, no, I don't know. Joe's still president. Joe is still president. And the pardons, hey, if he is forced from office, if he's forced from office before January, don't you think he won't go ahead and pardon Hunter and everybody else in the Biden family? He'll be like, screw it. If you're going to throw me out of office, I'll just go ahead and pardon everybody right now. Yeah. I don't think Joe Biden has any incentive to help Kamala, if for no other reason to screw her over and to screw over Obama. Joe Biden knows what they did to him. If Seymour Hersh is correct in what he's reporting, if the New York Post was correct in what it reported last week, then he knows very good and well who the perpetrators of the plot were. 5 individuals. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Kamala Harris, and Barack Obama. He knows exactly who took him out. Joe Biden has no incentive to help Kamala. None. He'll say nice things in public. He's not going to work too hard to get her elected. See, all this talk about a unified Democrat Party, I'm not buying it. I am not buying it at all. Now, maybe true. Maybe true. We shall see. We shall see. Yeah, could be. Could very well be. But I say, look, if they're going to push him out before January, don't you think he won't go ahead and pardon Hunter? Why would he not do it? What at that point? Look, they've already pushed him out of the nomination. And again, this is me speculating, okay? I could be dead wrong about this. Okay? They've already pushed him out of the nomination. If they try to push him out of the presidency before January 20th, he's got nothing to lose. Screw it. Screw it. I'm going to pardon Hunter. I'm going to pardon James. I'm pardoning everybody. If you don't like it, yeah. Or yeah, a better way to do it. What would he have to lose? And you know what? It might very well be. It might very well be. WWG1 says, I call you crazy in general, nothing personal. Well, that's fine. When you say I'm with her, which dude are you referring? Oh, that's awful. Will you say good things about your future ex-wife? Sir, I will always say good things about my future ex-wife, Representative Boebert. Thank you very much. Rhymes with 1860. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what. Hang on a minute. I got to see this. White dudes for All right, y'all are just intriguing me now. Y'all been intriguing me ever since this came up. What? Hang on a minute. Christian or anybody out there? Is this part of what you guys are talking about? Is this part of the white dudes for Kamala? I'm sorry. I know I'm a little off track here, but I got to see this. Hang on a minute.
And that happens at the same time as the myths around America that we grew up with, that we as men are expected to be protectors and providers, are going out into an economy that doesn't really allow for that, especially for working class folks. And sort of like compounding on that, masculinity as a trope has been co-opted by the MAGA right into something that feeds into and exacerbates the loneliness epidemic, as well as the mental health crisis that many face that end up leading to really destructive behaviors.
What?
We aren't the only ones that are hurt by these things. Black and brown people, LGBTQIA plus people, especially trans women and indigenous people, and all sorts of other folks in our society who've been historically and often still today are marginalized and being hurt, demonized, and marginalized even further. So
No. That can't be real. That is a white dude for Kamala? That's an example of what that conference call looked like? Sweet Lord. Oh my God. Okay. First of all, whatever soy milk he's drinking, just cut him off. Just cut that boy off. All right. Second of all, give him red meat. Give him red meat. I want that one eating a lot of red meat. That's on his menu. Okay. They've got a drinking game going? Oh, really? Really? Oh, this could get... All right, wait a minute. Show of hands. Anybody interested in snipe streaming Mike Harlow right now? Now y'all got me. Now you got me intrigued. And I can't do it for long. I got to do it for just a few minutes. No, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I've got to check in on a family member of mine. Oh, really? So every time a buzzword comes up, he takes a drink. Okay, I tell you what. And it's not that I'm trying to deny. I tell you what, we'll do this for a second or two, and then I've got to check out because I gotta check on a family member of mine. We have a long-standing tradition that goes back years together. But you know what? For the sake of my audience, I will absolutely do this. Hang on, we're gonna snipe stream this thing. Where is that? Where is that rat? That rat. Hang on a minute.
I'm a white dude. That much.
Okay.
He's a white dude.
Here we
I
go.
also happen to be
He's
a
a white
father.
dude.
Oh, I thought he said I like dudes.
Let's
10-year-old and a
drink to that, Mike.
13-year-old.
He's a white dude.
I'm not sure if you guys can recall that feeling you had on the night of Tuesday, November 8th, 2016. I stood over
glorious.
my kid's bed and I wept. I wept because I
No
felt
shit.
like I let them down.
Because it was your period and you were
wept
menstruating.
because They had the chance, and we had the chance to have a female president for the first time in our lives and in
What's a woman?
This nation. And instead, we put a man in office who not only disdains women.
Oh my God.
Disdains women. I think he likes women a little too much, if anything. Yeah, Trump really disdains women.
Yeah, they can't make up their minds. Does he love women too much or does he hate them?
Right.
Can't look him in the eye. Whose own daughters seem to want nothing to associate him, to be associated with him. And
Ivanka
you-
doesn't want to be
feeling of
associated
dread.
with him.
and that feeling of fear.
Wait a second. They were talking shit for the last like 2 weeks about his granddaughter at the convention, and now they're saying she doesn't want to be associated with him. They can't keep two thoughts in their head at the same fucking time.
And that feeling of shame is not something I'm ever willing
I love this.
or
Okay.
able to allow myself to feel again. Which is why right now I am begging all of you to smash that donate button.
Okay, if you're
smash the donate button, everyone, because if you don't, he's never going to be able to feel again.
To not go through that.
God forbid.
The only thing he's
Times
smashing is the buffet line.
2025 all over again.
Way to go, Mikey. Way to go, baby.
There's a fundamental difference this time, though, that there wasn't last time.
Oh,
There's a lot of fear,
hysterical.
and I get that.
Here we go.
Trust
The
me,
trigger
I
word,
feel-
fear again.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
Okay,
also something
when
in
are they
the
gonna
air that I
take
haven't
another
felt
drink?
in a really long time. Hope. And that feeling of hope, that feeling of being surrounded by people
Oh
who
God,
aren't
this guy's
just
a
voting
joke. Who is
out
this
of
loser?
distress and aren't just voting against something, but are voting for something.
Yeah,
Dude,
voting
this is
for
literally
this.
Olaf having a
Oh
monologue.
my
It's sometimes
God.
a generational
That's
feeling,
like all I'm
right?
hearing right now.
We've had a lot of
This is an
presidents in our
Olaf speech
lifetimes that have
about Elsa.
No, it's something
we've
all right.
elected them based on policy. We've elected them based on, this ideology that they have. But here we have somebody who doesn't
my
look like the
word.
others.
Okay,
Doesn't
We're gonna-
sound like
And
We're
that
gonna-
is
we're gonna
all
step
they
out of
fucking
this.
care about.
hang
That's how
on.
something
that's a
looks.
For a
generational
second. Oh my God, Mikey, you are having a load of fun. Oh wait.
Great. You guys got to subscribe to our friend Brian.
Okay, all right. Gypsy sent me something real quick, and she says this is even better than the one clip I played. All right, then we got to do this, and then with that, I'm gonna have to run. So hang on a second. Let's see what we got here. Oh, this is even better. Oh God, I did see this today. All right, that's it. We got to play this one, folks. If you want an idea of what white men for Kamala's like, get ready, because this is an ad they are actually running. Okay. Oh dear, you're about to find out. Here it comes. Check this out.
Us MAGA Republicans banned abortion, but that's just the start.
That's just the start. If Trump gets elected, we want the government involved in all aspects of your sex life.
Way more involved.
Way more involved.
When you have sexual intercourse, it should be illegal to use contraception. No pills, no condoms.
Your genitals are reserved for procreation.
If you freeze 12 eggs, you should be required to have 12 babies, or else you're a serial killer. And I'm definitely not a serial killer.
Are you?
My son monitors my porn usage to make sure I'm not self-pleasuring.
Just like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. That's true. You can look it up.
Don't you think that's normal?
Yeah, I do.
It's normal for your son to do that.
You should have a family member monitor your porn use too.
Because pleasuring yourself is very, very naughty.
I'm voting in November.
I'm voting in November.
We're all voting in November. Are you?
Because what happens in your bedroom is up to me.
Is up to me and my son. Also, mouth stuff is a sin.
Yeah, I'm like you. It can't possibly be a real ad. Well, it says won't back down pack. All right, now I gotta look this up. Hang on, this cannot possibly be a real ad. Won't pack down. Hang on. I'm checking this out. Hang on. Oh my gosh, it's real. Here's the website of the organization that created this. And assuming that this is not like an amazing form of fakery, their mission. Youth turnout wins. Record setting among millennials. Gen Z has caused, oh my God, this is real. Holy cow. No, they seriously cannot think that this is. Oh my God, these people. Unbelievable. Folks, get ready. The next 99 days are going to be absolutely retarded. Just straight up. But that ad is so cringe. Oh my God. Oh Lord. Get ready. We're headed for 99 days of retardation from the left. I'm telling you. Anyway. Folks, gotta run. Don't get sorry for this, but I gotta run. I got a long-standing tradition. I gotta check on a family member. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Do me a favor as you're going out off the front porch. Hit the thumbs up on both YouTube and Rumble. If you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. Share the link around. Hit the bell for notifications. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will be back tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, for another session of Chatting on the Porch. You guys are awesome. Yeah, I was gayer than I did. Yeah, you ain't wrong, dude. You are not wrong at all. Holy cow. Anyway, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. Thank you guys so much for being here for Chatting on the Porch. Like I said, tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, we'll be back. And remember, it's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, more money. We'll see you guys later.